Welcome back, sports fans. Chapter 9, Part 2: Sponsorship, Corporate Partnerships, and where we will concentrate in Part 2, the role of activation and what that is. Definitionally, brings the brand to life by creating an interactive platform between the target market, who you wish to see the message and connect with, and the product the brand's wishing to promote. The book, the authors, I should say, Mullen, Hardy, and Sutton, cite that a brand will spend two or three times as much on activation as they do on the rights fees. So if you think that they buy the rights to Chick-fil-A has rights to the Peach Bowl, and they might spend two or three times as much on activating that sponsorship in the consumers' minds than they do on the actual what they actually spent on the rights to drop cows from the ceiling and sell Chick-fil-A family packs. So developing a good activation strategy, right, requires some thinking and skill. Many have gone wrong, or were not did not accomplish what they wanted uh, to accomplish. What's helped with that? Social media, uh, Twitter and Instagram. You've seen activation plans on both, uh, making you aware of their promotion and getting you involved. Why? Because the ability to target on social media is very strong. You can really you can slice and dice up social media users. You could just do it broadly by platform if you want to. If we're trying to reach mostly men, we could go with Twitter. If we're trying to reach mostly women, we could concentrate on Instagram and some other platforms. Older people, Facebook, Pinterest is what I was trying to think of just a minute ago. If we're just trying to reach women, but if you're trying to reach, if you're really slicing and dicing down, do you want to reach 24-year-old college educated men and women? You can really direct those messages on social media at a very appealing cost versus a billboard, which everyone sees riding down the highway. The people that you want to target and a million other people that you don't. I just like to point this out because I believe it has great possibilities and every channel should use it. Now, I would imagine that because CBS, and it's the only one that I've seen that has this smart resume feature, where if you DVR it, in this case it's a DVR of the Late Show with Colbert, uh, I can just hit fast forward when it goes to commercial during that orange line, and it just goes and it zips right through it. I'm right back to the show. So if I start watching it 30 minutes late, I don't have to watch any commercials. Now, I wonder if that decreases what they're able to sell commercials for on CBS network programs. You can also do that with sporting events, which I've done. If I'm watching something else, I will let it get going, and then you can watch a baseball or football game in an hour if you're not interested in watching it live. Um, it's kind of live. You're not that far behind as long as you stay away from social media. You don't know how it ends, but it certainly has to have. If I'm selling that with CBS, I might go, well, you're selling my ad, but you have a smart resume, so how do I know that anybody's watching it? Well, I don't know how they address that. I'm just asking the question. I love it as a consumer, because I don't have to fast forward and wait for it to come on. I just hit fast forward three times fast forward, and it just stops when the show resumes, and it's awesome. But it's got to affect ad sales, I would think, or the rates they can get for the ads. So, what are some good rules of thumb? Well, keep commercialization to a minimum on your activation. Don't beat the consumer over the head with it. Cap the frequency of sponsor messaging. Too much antagonizes. You want to remind or inform or persuade, but you don't want to antagonize. And offer consumers an ability to engage with the promotion or whatever you're trying to, whatever you're promoting with this activation strategy. So there are a lot of ways, a lot of touch points uh, that you can use when incorporating activation strategies with the customers. Uh, at the arena, on their mobile phones, right? You could use even geo gating, and when they get close, they're almost there. You can get in touch with them there. Public relations, tickets, whether online or physical tickets, uh, with messages on there. You can use those to win a prize, that type of thing. VIP access, giving some exclusivity. If you bring whatever, if you if you show that you have one of the products, then you get to sit in a special place. Media, of course, online for everything, and as I said, social media, which has become very popular, as I stated earlier, due to the ability to really target and do it effectively with less money than some other channels. So here's an example of an activation strategy gone wrong when McDonald's gave away MP3 players that were loaded with viruses. All right. Uh, so that promotion didn't go well in Japan. So they spent money on a promotion, used that to activate it, and it went wrong. Or as they say, 10,000 folks who weren't necessarily loving it, where they used the McDonald's line. Here's a Pepsi promotion with the Yankees, except that they didn't plan well, just like Corona didn't plan well, the Wilder Molina fight. And they didn't have as many tickets as they thought, so it ended up with people just pouring Pepsis all over the ground and chanting "Pepsi sucks." So it didn't work out. Poor activation strategy on Pepsi's part, and that has to do with planning. Right? They didn't think enough steps ahead. So, what are some ethical issues with sponsorship? Well, you could have questionable athlete behavior, which is one reason that a lot of companies now prefer to use a retired coach or a retired player that they already know how they are, rather than have the Michael Vick dogfighting incident pop up. Excuse me. Or in recent years, Antonio Brown go from team to team and act like a nut. Um, or inappropriate sponsors. Now you'll see commercial gambling providers. You'll see those in heavyweight fights. I think some of those MMA fights. I don't watch that slap fight stuff, but you're not going to see that generally on an NBA game, unless maybe it's FanDuel or something, because they don't. They kind of want to keep gambling and sports separate, so they don't have an issue like has happened in the past. If you think of Sheila's Joe Jackson or the NBA official point shaving situation. Alcohol manufacturers, there are rules around that. It's a little bit, it's tough. You see a lot of beer ads on sports events and things, but, you know, they're always tempered with, have a spacer, drink responsibly, have two at home, whatever. Junk food manufacturers, Slim Jim is a big sponsor of, especially with a lot of online gaming. Uh, but there's some people that get really exercised about about that, and they might become upset with your franchise if you had, just tons and tons of junk food. But you can think of a lot of different examples. These are just three uh, that could be. There are a lot more. GoDaddy uh, ran into some issues because uh, their ads were too racy. Uh, some people thought they were too racy, so when they had Danica Patrick doing them and other ladies, um, so GoDaddy would create commercials that were not as racy, but then it said, go to the website to see the full commercial. Then you could go then on your own. They figure an 8-year-old wouldn't do it, although they probably did. That's probably who did it the most. But you could go to the web and see the full commercial, which is generally much racier. And of course, one of my favorites is the Bad News Bears, the original. When it was part of his job as coach to find a sponsor for the team, and he couldn't really find one until his buddy, his bail bond buddy at Chico's Bail Bonds, let freedom ring. And he rolled the team out there early in the movie, and everybody's just so upset that he has Chico's Bail Bonds as a sponsor of the team. But you can imagine if you were sponsoring a little league team, you would want Victoria's Secret or some club. We'll just leave it at that. So you have to be careful about that, obviously. So anyway, that is chapter 9, part 2, that goes along with chapter 9, part 1. All right. Everybody be good to each other out there.